Hi, and welcome to Video Games Revisited. Today we're going to be playing Pick and Pile for the Atari 2600. Published by Ubisoft in 1990, Pick and Pile is a puzzle game that was released on many different consoles. The basic formula will be familiar to most players, and involves you stacking multiples of the same shape so that they disappear, and the aim is to clear the screen of all of the shapes. You move them into their stacks by simply hovering your cursor over the shape you wish to move, and then moving it to where you want it to go. Once you press fire again, the two shapes will be switched over. These shapes must be stacked from the bottom of the screen, and at the beginning you only have to stack 2, but as you progress through the levels, this number increases to 2 and 4. This makes life a lot more difficult as the game progresses, and if you're brave enough to flick it onto hard mode, you'll find the game quite challenging. The levels are all timed, and if your time should expire, you simply lose one of your 3 lives that you start the game with. Now this may sound like a fairly basic and uninteresting game to you, but there are a few little extra features that help keep this title interesting. The most prominent being the way these shapes are stacked. Whilst I'm hesitant to call them physics, if the shapes end up piled in a way that makes them unstable, they'll begin to roll down until they settle at the bottom of the screen. This adds an extra element of strategy to the game, as you have to make sure you have the proper support for your shapes, so they can be stacked higher and really rack up the extra points. Support is made a lot easier by the blocks that appear on every level. Now these blocks can be switched around at will, and will never disappear no matter how high you stack them. Now these are great for both making high walls to help make your stacks larger, and also for breaking up stacks so that you can switch them out with the appropriate shape and score yourself some extra points. Additional points are also gained for multipliers and the bonus point power-ups that, if placed in stacks, give the relevant effects when your points are totaled up. Other special items that can be included in stacks are the hourglass, that increases the amount of time you have, and diamonds that are rewarded for high scores, but can also be placed in stacks to gain extra points, and if you collect a sufficient amount of them, give you a significant amount of points as a reward. To make the game more challenging as the levels progress, death heads and flower pots are also thrown into the mix. The flower pots simply can't be moved, and as such get in the way when you're trying to create higher stacks. However, if you manipulate them correctly, you can of course use them in your walls and use them to your advantage. The death heads, however, are a lot more troublesome, and if they ever make contact with the bottom of the screen, they will continuously eat up the amount of points you have, meaning you're much more likely to fail the level. Thankfully, the death heads can be blown up with the bomb power-up, which appears about the same time in the game. Essentially, when the bomb is switched with another shape, it destroys any shape that's placed either above, below, to the left or to the right, which means it's very handy for removing of a troublesome death head or flower pot, or even a spare shape if you don't have the sufficient others to create a stack large enough. However, if you do ever find yourself in a situation where you can't complete a level, you simply press the select button on your Atari console and a randomly generated shape will fall from the top of the screen. In summary, Pick and Pile builds upon a well-established gaming staple and adds a few interesting features to keep gamers entertained. The most important of which, in my opinion, is the way shapes roll and fall when they're piled high or precariously, and this always keeps you thinking and strategizing to make sure you're always one step ahead. But that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed the review. Take care, and I'll see you next time.